sometimes in sports, well, let's put it this way. There are a lot of people who are great at sports who are dummies. Like,
Sure.
they're just really, really good at it, and they don't think much about it.
But it's hard to get to that point.
But
being a
LeBron is
dummy.
as cerebral as they come.
Yes.
I mean, although I can think of a few dummies that were not as skilled as LeBron, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
as skilled as anyone out there, and just dumber than a sack of hammers.
Yep.
LeBron is the whole package when it comes to the X's and O's. Although in the NBA, it's not. Look, it's not like the NFL. The NFL is. It is as intricate as you want to get.
Mhm.
You can go really deep into the X's and O's, and it's like there are a lot of levels to it. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
That these coaches and players go through. Okay, NBA, come on. I mean, what did they say? They used to show a famous Trailblazers coach. They used to give him game film for upcoming teams, okay, to scout. Yep. X's and O's, right? JC Babes, okay? Yep. So they give him this film, and they're like, wait a minute. They're doing all this work on this film, and they're noticing he's not watching this film.
Yeah.
So then they started giving it to him in sealed packages so that they could really – they were like, we're going to put it on his desk, but we're going to seal it so that way we know if he's not watching it. And they ended up in a stack on his desk, sealed.
And this is the one thing that there is a difference.
There are not a lot of plays
that can exist in the NFL.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But come on, from the coach's perspective, like I'm saying, players, it's both sports are kind of read and react, right? It's like a feel but there is such thing as IQ, basketball IQ and football IQ. And I just think football is way deeper than basketball. Like basketball, there's X's and O's and strategy to everything, obviously. But basketball, a lot of times, there's only so much a coach can do, depending on who's on the floor, right? And they don't run. I mean, it was Damon Stoudemire who famously said, "Well, we only have like one or two plays." So it's like, okay,
it's not an Andy Reid offense.
But when you listen to LeBron and JJ Redick talk, you may think differently.
Yeah.
Now this, we talked about this because we were talking about podcasts and how everyone has a podcast, and you really have to be very specific with your topic choices on podcasts, or else, I don't know.
I looked it up. There are apparently 3.2 million podcasts. So yeah, you better be specific to your audience.
Well, some people just say, "Hey, I've got LeBron James on my podcast, so you should listen to it." Right. No, what is LeBron James talking about?
And this was JJ Redick's point: is he claimed, and rightfully so, that when you listen to NFL people, there are the Dan Orlovskis and Mina Kimes. There are so many people that go in depth, and he goes, no one cares about that in the NBA. All we care about is a bunch of horse crap drama of who should get traded and who's this and who's that.
The low hanging clickbait stuff as opposed to the high level stuff.
And so Redick was like, I would like to see if anyone is interested in us getting X's and O's, and to get attention, he went and got the best possible guy he could, which is LeBron James.
Yeah, you don't really hear it.
No.
Broken down this way.
The NBA stuff, the coverage of it is embarrassing, how salacious it is.
Well, it's like, but think about, I don't think Charles Barkley and Kenny and Shaq and those guys are embarrassing. I just think it's just interesting how those guys know so much about basketball, and yet when you watch them, you aren't getting any X's and O's
very little
analysis. I mean, there's some.
It's not.
But it's surface level stuff, man. Like, they do not go deep. No. Kenny sometimes with his when he's drawing stuff up, but
and then Shaq's just like, I'd win championships. He's like, I'm
just
best.
shove him out of the way, like
shove him out of the way and dunk.
It's funny because they have two shows on the same network that are almost polar opposites. Because like the other Inside the NBA, when it's like Candace Parker and Jamal Crawford and there's somebody else on there, they're all basketball, and then you get Kenny, Shaq, and Chuck out there, and it's the opposite.
So here, this is two-parter. LeBron. So we went in and took a listen to the LeBron Redick thing, and it's actually really interesting because it's very specific. Now, this first part involves Oregon, the University of Oregon, your Ducks.
My Duckies.
And Chip Kelly.
I'm going to tell you when it all changed. Obviously, my first year there, I'm
going to start this over. This is him talking about his time in Miami, not L.A. This is in Miami.
I'm going to tell you when it all changed. Obviously, my first year there, played great basketball, got all the way to the finals, losing the finals. Spo is the reason why we were a better team and our team was more assembled properly, that summer he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly.
Oh, interesting.
He when we lost to Dallas, he went to Oregon and hung out with Chip Kelly and learned the spread offense and tried to figure out if he could translate that to basketball. And don't know the super conversations that him and Chip had, but I know when he came back to us, he knew in order for us to reach our potential, one, I had to be 10 times better than I was in that previous June finals. But Chris Bosh had to go to the 5. He had to start working on his corner 3 faithfully every day after practice. Corner 3 every day after practice. We're going to post you up. We're going to get you your elbow catches. The offense is going to run through you at times. But in order to bring, the Tyson Chandlers out of the paint, in order to bring the Roy Hibberts out of the paint, in order to bring Kevin Garnett out of the paint, you got to at least be a threat.
Okay, so Spo comes to Oregon, talks to Chucky, figures it all out, and here is part 2 of them breaking that down.
The Bosh spacing, what did that sort of unlock? I'm curious. Like, what were the actions?
The cutting.
Slot cut?
The slot cuts. The slot cuts. The slot cuts. It unlocked the slot cuts. It unlocked exactly what myself and D-Wade thrive on. Dribble penetration, slot cutting. Pick and roll happens, you tag, slot cutting. Yeah. It unlocked all that. And we all know how great D-Wade is on the baseline. It's hard to cut behind the defense when X5 is standing there the whole time because, the offensive 5 is there. So, you hit me on the pocket pass now, I get the pocket pass from Chalmers or from Norris Cole, and now Bosh is in a strong corner. Are you going to leave him or not? If you do, he's going to tag you. And if not, when I roll, now you got X3 or X2 tagging on me on the roll. And 9 times out of 10, that guy that's playing the elbow that's supposed to X to the corner, he's Xing out to the 3-point line and D-Wade's slashing right behind him. It unlocked so much for our offense. And it gave myself and D-Wade in transition, we had this thing called the Mack truck lane. So basically from the block to the block. So say, for instance, we stand on the free throw line. Yeah. You got one block on one side, one block on that side.
I can picture a basketball court, yeah.
We do it for the viewers. I'm not questioning JJ's expertise.
No, I know what you're saying.
First day of training camp, we had that whole thing taped off. The bigs were not allowed to run in between the Mack truck lane. From the first day of training camp all the way to game 1. Prohibited. You're not allowed to, and if I'm bringing the ball up and the big is behind me, he can't cross the court. He has to run wide behind. This is all, Spo is like, he's that damn good.
So it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
To hear him break all that
Break it down.
At the same time, it's not really a complex concept. You know what I'm saying? Like the NBA is infuriating because it really isn't a lot of traditional basketball. It's a
Great
lot
athletes.
of it's great athletes,
Pick and roll.
a lot of standing around, a lot of pick and roll. It's spacing and one-on-one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of quick decisions. Right now, there's so much movement and picks and screens that you're trying to make the defense make the wrong decision so you can get a guy open.
Yeah, and I get why it's evolved into that, but give me Dan Hurley and UConn all day long. And I know that makes me sound 1,000 years old.
It does.
But basketball, when you play it like in the Warriors, okay, so the Warriors are an example of this. Mm-hmm. It's not just about UConn or college ball that has a little bit more, would be the word, like, offensive flow to it, maybe movement. Mm-hmm. The Warriors perfected this and won multiple titles with it.
When they were moving the ball with their death lineup, it was beautiful. It was really, really fun to watch.
And yet no one really, and the Spurs used to do it too.
Yeah.
When they were winning titles. And yet so many teams are averse to it. It's just the weirdest thing in that league.
It might be hard to get people sometimes to buy into that stuff. It also helps to have, a roster made up of guys willing to do it.
And that's the key.
That's the weird part about the NBA is, again, going back to Doug Gottlieb, the best thing Doug Gottlieb ever said was
here you go again.
Yep. He said the hardest part about the coaching gigs in the NBA is you can't get guys to listen to you until you win an NBA title, and you can't win an NBA title unless guys are listening to you, because guys tune out and they go back to one-on-one or pick and roll and do whatever the hell they want. It's hard to get guys to buy into a system. Like, you imagine when Dan Hurley comes into the NBA and tries to get a bunch of millionaires to follow his I'm going to be selfless and just run around in circles and play that style. That, and two, it's hard to exert that level on both ends of the floor because you get cooked by the Kyrie Irvings of the world.
Yeah, if that league, if the NBA were somehow about, if the players would just listen to coaches and let it be about X's and O's and coaching, it would be so fun to watch those guys. The best players in the world play that way.
Because the skill level's never been. It's off the charts.
It's still a watchable product because the guys they're freaks.
Yeah.
But guys coast in the NBA. They coast because the season is way too long. Mm-hmm. They ride these thoroughbreds way too hard, and then they have guaranteed money. They know that nothing's going to happen to them, and so coaches are kind of at the mercy of the players' whims on a nightly basis, and it's just a bad model.
Someone asked Alex Caruso. I saw a clip of it. I don't remember what podcast it was. There's one of the millions of podcasts. But someone asked Alex Caruso. He said, "How many NBA players could you take and put on a 15 or a 16 seed like Oakland and win the NCAA tournament?" He's like, "I don't know, maybe 30, 35." He goes,
"What?"
Yeah. And he was dead serious. He goes, "It's way more than you think." He goes, "There are."
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. He goes, "Dude,
they're that good."
He goes, he goes, "Everyone talks about college basketball and like defense and all that." He's just laughed. He goes, "Dude, there are so many players in the NBA that in a college game they would score 70 points and they would foul out." He was talking about Giannis. He goes, I think someone brought up UConn, and he goes, "Every UConn player would be fouled out by half."
Yeah.
He goes, "Are you kidding me?"
For sure.
I
would say more than, like, if you asked me that question, I would have said top 75.
There are so many guys that would just
maybe top 50.
Yeah.
But
the freaks are.
But
there's nothing like
one last point. Dan Hurley, I don't know if he ever has any NBA aspirations, and he would probably go to the NBA and flame out like other good college coaches have gone to the NBA and flamed out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of John Beilein or whatever. But the way Dan Hurley coaches his team, I would freaking love to see him get a group of NBA players with that kind of talent and have them play that way.
Be fun.
Dude, that would be so fun to watch.
Yep.
And they'd probably be dynamite if the players would buy in, but we're back to that of will they?